Palestinian activists are calling on a global strike to demand an immediate ceasefire. Trade unions and social media influence have joined the appeal. Now, there were the scenes in the occupied West Bank with a number of shops, banks and schools all closed in support for the people in Gaza. People have also joined the strike in neighboring Jordan and Lebanon.
Now, for more on the war in Gaza, let's speak with Arise chief correspondent John Cookson, who's monitoring developments for us from London. John, great to see you. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is saying dozens of Hamas fighters are laying down their weapons. How significant is that?
Hi, ladies. Great to see you too. Well, yes, dozens, he says, have laid down their weapons. That means less than 100. So let's get real here. Before this conflict started, there was about 30,000 Hamas fighters in Gaza. So less than 100 laying down their weapons is frankly not hugely significant. He obviously said that to encourage others to do so. But frankly, I'm surprised that only, less than 100 have laid down their weapons, given the onslaught that they've had in the last 6 weeks from the Israelis nearly pounded into oblivion there. I'm surprised that more Hamas fighters haven't given up their weapons and surrendered. But that's the nature of the beast, Islamic fighters have existed in that part of the world at least since 1948 in modern times. And even if this group, Hamas, is defeated by Israel, as they surely will in due course, so sad to say, because that will lead to a lot of Palestinians' lives lost. Even if this group is defeated, they'll emerge somewhere else, or another group will take over. So, yes, it's the kind of statement that will play well in Israel, that Hamas fighters have given up their weapons, but dozens, it's not very significant.
Right. Now, of course, what is significant is how resilient the Israeli forces have been. So where is the Israeli ground offensive concentrated at the moment?
Well, this ground offensive, 6 weeks old, the Israelis more or less control the north of Gaza, and it'll take another week to 10 days before they get full control. But as you said in the intro, they're focused now down in the south in the city of Khan Younis, where Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, mentioned by Benjamin Netanyahu in that soundbite, is thought to be hiding. It's thought that he escaped in an ambulance at some point from the north in Gaza City down to where the intense fighting is underway at the moment in Khan Younis. And until the Israelis believe that they've either killed him or his associates or wiped out most of the Hamas leadership that joined him there, then this fighting in Khan Younis is going to get more intense. And it's interesting that the Israelis and indeed Hamas are trying to persuade Palestinians to move away from Khan Younis. Khan Younis, a massive city. If you drive through Gaza, as I have, there's not much differentiation between the towns, the cities and the villages, because everything is crammed together. But there is a gap of land between Gaza City and Khan Younis, and Khan Younis, the same narrow streets and high-rise buildings, refugee camps as you have in Gaza. So I'm afraid we're going to see another play out of what's happened in Gaza City, the destruction, the devastation, the deaths of Palestinians. We're going to see that even more so in Khan Younis in the coming days, sadly.
Well, John, the UN General Assembly is voting on a ceasefire tomorrow. Is it likely to be passed?
Yes, absolutely, it is. And it follows America vetoing a Security Council vote on a ceasefire on Friday, which Antonio Guterres was talking about there. He said that the authority and credibility of the UN Security Council had been severely undermined, and he's absolutely right. But the point is, even if the General Assembly do vote in favour of a ceasefire, it's not binding in the great scheme of things. And even if it were, frankly, Israel at this point, which has got a war in full swing in Gaza, is going to ignore it. So yes, there'll be a lot of fine words on Tuesday and lots of calls for a ceasefire. And, most of the world agrees with that. But Israel is not listening.
Right. Now, given this backdrop, what are the chances for another prisoner swap?
Well, Qatar says that it's working behind the scenes, but it seems to me that the atmosphere just isn't right at the moment. Weeks ago, when we had the release of 80 Israelis and 240 Palestinians, it seemed that the time was right for a ceasefire, a pause in fighting, so this exchange could take place. But in recent days, the fighting, the Israeli onslaught has intensified. And the Israelis are on a roll at the moment, and the only people who could persuade Israel to stop what they're doing at the moment is America. And we know America is supporting Israel more or less in all what it's doing at the moment. So Qatar says that it can be working to persuade Hamas to bring about a ceasefire, but Qatar has no any effort or pressure to put on Israel. Only the Americans can do that. So to answer your question, the Qataris might be talking about another ceasefire, but I can't see it happening anytime soon.
Well, all right, Chief Correspondent John Cookson, live from London. We'd like to thank you for your time and insight here on Newsday as always. We appreciate your time.